Hello, my friend. My name is Byron, and I'm from the BJJ Brick Podcast. I want to thank you for checking out the podcast on the YouTube channel here. It's a weekly show dedicated to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and having fun on the mats. Enjoy the show.
Thank you for listening to the BJJ Brick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back to the BJJ Brick Podcast. This is episode 228. This episode we have Mariam Cardozo. Mariam is a 5-time BJJ world champion through the various belts. She started training at the age of 15, had a lot of success. She got her black belt in 2007. She is now a 3-striped BJJ black belt training in Redmond, Washington. My name is Byron. I'm here with my good buddies Joe and Gary. They just got back from a couples massage. Joe and Gary, how's it going?
I'm feeling really relaxed right now. All the knots are out of my muscles. My vagus nerve is stimulated, so I'm doing well.
And Joe, how are you doing, my friend? No.
The crazy thing is I just read about the vagus nerve. It doesn't sound like we have one as a male, but we do.
Gary, okay, man. I started this off kind of weird and trying to throw you guys under the bus, and you like...
And I really changed it.
Yeah, times 10 on that, buddy.
Yep, yeah, that's what I'm known for. But no, seriously, a vagus nerve will help you relax, and we can stimulate our vagus nerve by deep breathing, by meditating, and by humming. So I guess when I was getting a couples massage there with Joe, somebody, I was deep breathing and meditating.
Well, if that's what you want to call it, Gary.
Learn something every day.
Hey, just so you guys really know, Joe and I did not have a couples massage.
No.
That was just Byron.
Immediately throwing him under the bus.
Yep, we appreciate that, Byron.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here to help.
You're definitely here to help. Hey, you know who else is here to help? Health IQ. Health IQ is our sponsor. They are a life insurance company that has awesome rates for individuals like ourselves who care about taking care of their health. Basically, to see if you qualify for these great rates, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/unique link, and we'll have a link to it in our show notes. Or if you happen to call them, use the promo code unique link when you talk to your Health IQ agent.
Yeah, one of the things I found interesting, Gary and Byron, I was looking at that bio sheet, that spec sheet they sent us, and they've got a section there on underwriting advantages. And when an insurance agency looks at you to write you a health insurance or a life insurance policy, they look at your family history and they look at things like low resting heart rate and your BMI and your cholesterol counts and things like that. But those don't always tell the whole story. And Health IQ will go in there and they'll make sure that they compensate. For instance, is that generally when you reduce the carbs in your diet, it's good for you. It reduces your risk of heart disease, but it also does raise your cholesterol levels a little bit. And a lot of insurers will just look at the cholesterol level and think that's a bad thing, but Health IQ understands that there might be something else going on there. Your body mass index, insurance companies use that every day, but two guys that are 5'10" and 220 might not have the same body makeup. If one guy is benching 350 and squatting 350 and deadlifting 400, he's not going to look anything like the other guy if the other guy's not working out at all. So they take that into consideration as well. And they just work hard to make sure you get the best rate possible.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing there. And they've got, they've looked at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and they said that these people are in great shape and we'd be a good match for them. So if you're looking for life insurance, and really we should all have that, it really protects our families from additional hardship in what would be a really hard time. Check it out. There'll be a link in the show notes to Health IQ.
Yeah, so definitely, basically call them or check online link to see if you qualify and get your free quote on life insurance. Great company there.
Hey, guys, I got a little off the mat lesson you might appreciate. I think my kids are older than yours, but you'll be doing this in a little bit. I spent yesterday was one of many days recently. I've spent helping my daughter find a new used car. So we went up to Houston yesterday, and we kind of had a game plan. And the first car we were going to look at, wouldn't you know, they sold it first thing in the morning. And then the next dealership we went to, we just got a bad vibe. And man, before you know it, our whole plan was turned upside down. Now we're just driving around Houston looking. And we eventually found her a nice used car, and she's happy with it. And I think it's going to be great. And I thought about how we approach jiu-jitsu, and if we're not flexible, if we're not capable of reassessing the situation on the fly and changing game plans on the fly, that we can, go down a wrong path and just keep going and put ourselves in trouble. So, yeah, when it comes to jiu-jitsu, you got to be able to adjust quickly and make changes in your course. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's definitely very important for jiu-jitsu. But what I was thinking about, Joe, is you go in there with your daughter to get a used car, and you said you came up with a game plan. And I can imagine Joe's game plan. Hey, we're going to go in here. We're going to get the best deal. If he doesn't give me the deal, I'm going to choke him out. And I guarantee you that was probably Joe's game plan.
Right before they lose consciousness, they're really easy to negotiate with.
Yeah, or if you have them in a Kimura, you just put the pen in their hand and make them sign for that low price that you were going to that you want to pay for that. So it works great. Joe's got it down. He knows how to get a good deal on a car.
Yeah, that's one way to think of it. I was, as Joe was explaining this, I was thinking about him going to different car dealerships, trying to figure out which one had the best thing for them. And I was just kind of thinking about going to different jiu-jitsu schools, trying to figure out which one is right for you. And I've talked to some listeners out there who there's one jiu-jitsu school in their community, and it doesn't feel quite right to them. It's not totally off to where they're going in and it's just so abrasive to them. But they're like, well, if there was another one, I'd probably go to the other one. But there's not another one. And talking with some of these, usually the thing that we result in is that you're there and it ultimately will become part of your gym, a gym you go to, and it'll change with you being there. So if nobody there is a nice person and you're going there, there's one nice person there. If you go to a gym and you want there to be, you're the only woman there, well, now there's one woman there. And the next woman that walks in, she'll say, oh, there's one woman at least. And so that, you kind of make it work out. It's not necessarily the ideal situation, but you're working with what you got. Like when Joe went to the car, like, sold that one. That one's gone. This one, actually we said it had hardly any miles. It's got a ton of miles. But you kind of figure out what works best. And, in Houston, I bet there's a million car dealerships and jiu-jitsu schools. But in small towns, you kind of have to work with what you got. And part of that equation is you. And you just make it work.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking more of, I was in a rolling match, let's just say you and I were rolling. And, before we slapped hands and did the fist bump, I'm like, hey, I'm going to get top position. I'm going to control position. I'm going to grab a Kimura. I'm going to step over his head and I'm going to finish. Basically, then what happens is maybe I get top position after a takedown. Byron sweeps me. All of a sudden I'm on my back. He passes. He now cements side control. Like, my whole game plan, everything I wanted to do is now thrown off. But as Joe and his daughter did, they didn't just give up. They kept going down the street looking for more car dealerships, someplace that's going to give them a good deal. I now have to, shrimp, maybe recapture guard, look for the underhook, shuck, come up for a single leg, anything to change position and get in a better position. Basically, the path that we want to take when we first start, there's a bunch of roadblocks there, a bunch of stuff that is going to come in our way, down trees across the road. We are going to have to react on the fly. We're going to have to figure stuff out. It's never the smooth path we want, and I don't think we'd want it that way. It would be too easy. We want to have some obstacles. It just makes when we get to the end result, it makes it so much better, so much more fulfilling. So great, off the mat lesson there, Joe. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, Gary, you articulated perfectly what I was trying to say. I do appreciate Byron's point, though, and I think I've read it before. Be the change that you'd like to see in the world. So, yeah, if you're in a gym and it's not the best situation, do what you can to make a difference.
Yep, that's a Mahatma Gandhi quote, I believe. We do have a quote this week from Carl Jung. Maybe it's Carl Hung, if they pronounce the J with an H sound.
Speaking of uncomfortable positions.
I will tell all the listeners that I decided not to take the quote this week because I couldn't figure out how Byron was setting me up with the name Carl Jung. I figured there was something there, but I said it about 4 or 5 times trying to figure it out. But I was like, I'm just going to let somebody else take the quote.
Yep. If you're new to the podcast, go back and listen to last week, and gave Gary a fake name, and he read it and went on by, and we had to bring it back. It was pretty fun. But Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding about ourselves." And I read that, and I'm like, that's kind of deep. What is it thinking about it? How does this relate to jiu-jitsu? Basically, the way I boil that down to is if something about another grappler bothers you or annoys you, it tells you something about you or your jiu-jitsu. And it might just mean that, Gary's knee slide pass is super tight and really good. And every time I roll Gary, it really is annoying because he just slices through my guard. So what's it tell me about myself? Well, maybe I need to have a better side control escape. Maybe I need to learn into preventing the knee cut pass and that sort of thing. I just think that we all have those training partners who kind of annoy us a little bit or irritate us, and not necessarily because they're rude or their tactics on the mat are unpleasant to roll with. I mean, we have those too, but it's something like, oh dang, I'm gonna roll with this guy, and it's a normal roll, but something about it doesn't quite sit right as far as how you perform. Don't necessarily read 100% into them doing that. Look into yourself as a grappler and try to think about, what does this tell me about my game? What do I need to change?
Yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking while you were talking about, if you go to a gym and you've got a half a dozen teammates that you won't roll with because they're all spazzes in your book, and you're the only one that sort of has that opinion of these guys, it may not be that they're spazzes. It may be that you're not working to develop your speed and quickness, and you're not able to slow them down. Maybe they're just athletic and kind of explosive guys, but they're not spazzing. You just can't keep up with them. And, it's a tough thing to self-reflect and identify that in yourself. But if you do, then you can deal with it and you can make adjustments and then start rolling with these guys and get the benefit of that.
I was talking to a guy last night that I trained with, and we were talking about another guy we trained with who's got a really tight side control, really great top game. And, I was saying it's like, yeah, rolling with that guy is, brutal. He gets side control and I'm done. And, the way I came at it was talking about it was kind of negative. I was saying he gets me in side control and it's over, basically. And I like what the other guy told me. He's like, yeah, I love his what he said back to me is, I love rolling with that guy. I let him start in side control because I know if I can get out of his side control, it's going to make me that much better. And, it made me reflect that, here I am, I was coming at it kind of negative the way I was talking about it. And, and I know this, I know that you go against better people, it's going to make you better. And that's the attitude I have to have, is what that person was telling me. I need to realize that, instead of just saying, hey, this guy, dominates me as soon as he passes, what I need to do is kind of like what Byron said, let's work on my side control escapes. Let's find out something that I can do better to, somebody's going to pass my guard. That's going to happen. I can work on making my guard passing better or not, but this guy's such great in this position. Why don't I work and try to get a better side control escape where, if I can escape his side control, I can probably escape anybody's side control. So it's just going to make me change my mindset a little bit. And hopefully, I know I'll get better just by putting myself in that position.
Yep, I think basically this is an easy way to kind of force yourself to reflect on your own game. And Joe was talking about spazzes. Controlling a spaz is a legitimate thing, and if you're a blue belt and above and you're really annoyed by somebody who's your size and is spazzy, take time look at your own game. How could I control this person? I'm a blue belt. I should be good at jiu-jitsu. You are good at jiu-jitsu. But what techniques can I do differently? What positions can I employ that I don't really use right now to control somebody who's spazzy? And at the blue belt level, especially on up, you get really good about fighting people who do jiu-jitsu, doing, you countering a triangle choke. At no point will a spaz who's fairly new at jiu-jitsu throw out a decent triangle choke on you. That's not part of the game. But controlling somebody who's kind of out of control and just trying to do whatever they can unpredictably is a skill that we could learn during jiu-jitsu. You just have to take it upon the times that you're training with a spaz to figure out what they're doing and how you could mitigate that, because they're not acting in a smart, technical way. They're just kind of going nuts, and they're surprising you is what they're doing with some of their movements.
Yeah, if you want to train for self-defense, spending some time grappling with people that are kind of spazzing a little bit is probably your best training.
Joe, that's one of the best pieces of advice I've heard, and I have heard a lot of people. No, I'm really. Yeah. I'm serious. I'm not joking, and I have heard a lot of people say they don't like to roll with that spazzy person, and I always kind of come back and say, like what Joe does. It's like I don't necessarily train for self-defense. I train for fun, but I look at it that when I have to go with somebody like that, the super strong, the super spazzy person, man, that's real life. I know that if I can control this person and do halfway well, I'm going to be okay in a one-on-one self-defense situation. And, that's one of the, a great benefit of jiu-jitsu, the self-defense aspect of it. And so, yeah, I when Joe said that, it just, I say that a lot. And I do think some people don't roll with a spazzy person. And I know you may not want to get hurt or don't want to get kneed in the face and this and that. But, if your jiu-jitsu is really that good and you can control that person, it's going to be a good experience for you. It's going to teach you a lot. You're going to have to do stuff differently. When Byron and I roll, I know Byron's very technical. He's going to move the way I expect him to move. The great thing about going with maybe, somebody we term as a spaz, they are not always going where we expect them to. I may open up a door hoping that person goes down that path to danger, but they don't move how I'm expecting. They're going to move another way, and I'm going to have to, keep distance. I mean, keep close, not let a lot of distance, just to protect myself and make sure I'm okay. So I think that the self-defense aspect of that is valuable.
So, Gary, I just got two comments. First of all, you said that my advice was the best advice you've ever heard. Well, and then you went on to tell us how many times you have personally given that advice. so you're telling us that you are brilliant. I see.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you letting me know that I'm brilliant. Thank you, Joe. Awesome.
No, but I was going to comment on what you were saying. I read that Travis Stevens was asked one time why he doesn't use more jiu-jitsu or more judo in his jiu-jitsu matches. And he said because jiu-jitsu players don't react the way that he's conditioned to expect somebody to react. When he grabs a collar and a sleeve and he starts manipulating them, all his judo throws are based on a specific reaction that he gets from other judo players. So, it's definitely a unique situation.
Yeah, and I see that a lot. Like when I do better rolling against a person who's been rolling about a year. They may not be the best grappler, but they're rolling a year. I know where they're going to move. But a lot of times that guy who comes in very first day has no judo or has no jiu-jitsu background, let's just say no wrestling background or anything. We start rolling. It's a little awkward because that person's not going where I think they should be going. They don't have the feel, of pressure and, angles and everything. And it's good. I think it's good for my jiu-jitsu for real life scenarios. I think that's why I like to pick street fights all the time, because it's always going to be a little different.
Picking the street fight will help your self-defense, provided you live and don't get, gravely injured.
Yeah.
Terrible advice.
What I always tell you guys, I've done this a lot, and my record in matches to the death. Both of you guys do. 15, 13, and 7 in matches to the death. Brutal. So, yeah, pretty good record, I think.
That's fair.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm 0-0 and happy with that.
Yeah.
But if you ever need a corner man, Gary, I'm there for you.
Oh, thanks for having my back, Joe. Literally.
Well, this wraps up the quote and more. I'll read the quote one more time so you can think about it. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to understanding of ourselves. Carl Jung, or maybe Carl Jung, probably. We'll be headed our way towards the interview with Mariam Cardozo. He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
His Facebook page has twice as many likes as the BJJ Brick Facebook page, because everyone who likes the BJJ Brick Facebook page also likes his page. But then their moms go and like his page too. He can toe hold a duck. The first time he took his opponent's back, he never returned it. It now sits on his mantle in a jar of formaldehyde.
I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BJJ Brick podcast. Go for the submission, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm happy to bring Mariam Cardozo to the BJJ Brick podcast. Mariam, welcome to the show. I'm happy to have you here today.
Hi, Byron. Thank you for having me here today. I'm so excited. And I'm so happy to be able to share a little bit of my story with you guys.
All right. I'm happy to hear that story and learn from you. You are a 5-time world champion in BJJ, and you've competed in a bunch of other tournaments. You're now a second-degree black belt, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're head coach of the elite Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu team?
Yes.
In Redmond, Washington?
Yes. I'm actually now a third degree. Yeah.
Third degree.
Yes. I'm a black belt for 11 years now.
Wow, that is awesome. Yeah. So we've got a lot of different areas we could go with our conversation, but first, would you just kind of introduce yourself and kind of give us a little bit of a history of yourself on the mats?
Yes. So my name is Miriam. I'm from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. And then I started training jiu-jitsu when I was 15 years old. And at the beginning, I didn't really know what jiu-jitsu was. I was just trying different sports. In Brazil, we have that we call projects, that we bring kids from the favelas in Brazil to do different sports. So keep ourselves busy. That's how I got into doing jiu-jitsu. And then from that, I started going for tournaments, and then I started falling in love with jiu-jitsu. And today I'm here in the United States working with that, So I feel very blessed.
So you started competing pretty early on?
I did. It's funny that, so after training jiu-jitsu like for 3 months, my professor, he was like, we're going to have a tournament. I will sign you up for the tournament. And I was like, okay. And then they actually got like, they rent like a bus and put on all the athletes and took us for the tournament. And it was like a state tournament in Rio de Janeiro. And I was the only one on the team that got first place. And my professors we had like 12 black belts that taught over there on the project, So all my professors was just yelling, screaming. They were picking me up and throwing me on the air. But me, I had no idea. I was like, oh my gosh, they're all crazy, right? They're like screaming like crazy. And they're tossing me into the air. And then when that was over, I go inside the bus and everybody's still talking about, I can't believe you're a champion, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, can somebody tell me but why it's so important? And they were like, okay, then they realized they really, truly didn't understand that was important. And they sat down and they were like, man, that's a state tournament, and that's really important. It's one of the most important tournaments that we have in a year. You're a state champion. That's very, very valuable for you and for our team. It represents our hard work. And I was like, oh, okay. And I started feeling proud of myself. And then they put on me on this. My second tournament was a national tournament. So my first tournament was a state tournament. The second one was a national tournament. And then I was a little bit more nervous because I understand that was important for my team, to win that. And then I got first place that too. And from there one was, was the world tournament. And then on my first world tournament, I didn't got first place. But it's okay. I got second. I was happy with the second too. Not so happy like the girl that got first, but it's okay. So that's how I started like getting into going for a tournament, But that wasn't my goal at the beginning. Even when I was at the tournament, I didn't thought that I couldn't win. I was just thinking like, okay, somebody gonna be the champion. And it would just make the champion have a hell of a time with me. She's gonna have a hard time to be the champion still. Because now I'm on the division and I'm not gonna make it easy for her. And I was just thinking like in become a wall for somebody else. Like if you really wanted that, you gotta pass through me first. And with that mindset, they couldn't pass. And then I became the champion. But I wasn't really thinking about being the champion. I just want to make them have a hard time.
That's an interesting mindset. And just early competitions, you really took to it so well. Do you remember like your favorite moves that you were doing back then? Way early on, your 3 months, you're competing and doing very well. Do you remember if you were playing guard or top or what you were doing?
I think I started playing bottom first. And it was probably because, I was learning and it's so hard to play on top when you don't know a lot of moves because right away they put your back on the ground again,
Yeah.
They like skip you. And so basically you're always on the bottom. So most of the people learn bottom top bottom game first. And then goes top. Then I would not like from the bottom. I would do like more arm bars. That would be like my number one submission that I would go for it. And then later on, you start, learning that just the bottom game it will not do much for you. You need to know top too. So then I start playing top game. Now I don't have like a favorite game like bottom top. I go with the flow, like if they want to play top, I play bottom. If they want to play bottom, I play top. And that's something that I like to do. I don't like to, an example, if I go to a tournament, and I know a lot of people do that and it works for them, but for me it doesn't work. I like to, if I know the girl like to play bottom, I let she pull and I play top. Because for me to feel like a champion, I want to know my heart that I want on and letting her play her best game. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to kill her best game and play my game, like so playing on the game that she's not so good. You know? I like it. If she like to play bottom, then I go, she will play bottom and I will play top. And I want to make sure that I can kill her bottom game. And if I win her best game, then I feel like, okay, I'm the winner, And that's the way that it gives me more pleasure, I would say.
It sounds like a more difficult way, though, to win, letting them play into their strong game.
It is, but in the end, it's you want to be the champion winning because you had to, to not let they play their game, or you want to be the winner letting someone playing their strongest game and you still are able to succeed, I think that's the hardest thing to do. And then I never took the easy way. and then wouldn't be at the tournament, they would do that, you know. I always try to. I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of crazy.
No, it sounds like you're adding a little bit of a challenge. As a coach, if you're coaching somebody who is a blue belt or purple belt or I guess anywhere, and they're competing against somebody who they know has a certain part of their game that's really good, do you coach them to go to that game and get past it, or do you coach them to avoid it when it's somebody else, not you?
No, I don't do that, because I do that. And it's the first time that I'm actually saying that to someone. Now everybody gonna know. I only do that when I compete, because it's a personal goal, you know. It's something that nobody knows, you know. It's inside my head. When I go over there, only I know where I'm going for, you know. It's not about the matter. It's about, do I have a better game than you? Can I control your top game or your bottom game? You playing your game. Can I do that? You know? And so it's very personal to me. Where my student is competing, it's their own goals, you know? So I need to follow and help them with what they need. If they come and tell me, Professor, I know that person is good on the bottom, but I really want to play on top. And I would say, go ahead. But if they like it, I know they're really good on the bottom, and I just don't want to lose. I want to win. Geez, I'm like, don't let them play on the bottom. You know, where they gonna save you? They're gonna save you trouble with it. You know?
Yeah.
But I don't do like my personal goals. I don't use that on my students, you know, because we all have a different journey in what we want in jiu-jitsu. And then, I was talking about that actually yesterday. I went to Holly Grace's seminar yesterday, and then he was telling us about one tournament that he lost, and I was asking him if he has the same problem that I have, because I can remember the tournament that I lost like if it was yesterday. But none of the tournament that I win, I don't remember with details. You know, I just remember that in the end I won, but it's not so clear on my head, you know. And then he was saying that's normal. It's because that's the tournament that brings us more, you know, we're learning more when we lose. So I guess that's why it's stuck in my head. I'm like, I couldn't beat that game, you know. How? And we're trying to figure it out, you know, how to do it.
And you think when you win, I won, and you accept that, and then you move on to the next thing. And when a tournament doesn't go well for you, you think about it, you replay it in your head over and over again, and you try to figure out how to defeat what was presented to you at that match.
Yeah. And one thing that I have trouble too, it's if I go from one tournament and it's so close to the next tournament, then I try to avoid or thinking about like what one is more important for me, because can be challenging for me. Like if I go, an example, right now I have the Pan Ams, and right after I have the Worlds. And I would like to go to the Pan Am, but it's so close to the Worlds that I'm afraid that if I do the Pan Ams and I win, then I get all happy. Like, oh, I won. And then the next tournament's coming up, then I'm not so focused, you know. So I'm like, okay, I will just avoid the Pan Am and I will just go to the Worlds. Because the way it's a one shot, it's one chance. It's basically do or die, you know. So then I go with much more effort, I would say. Like, I really pay attention every single thing that I'm doing, like what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, how much time of sleep I'm having, you know. Like last night, my husband was like, let's watch TV, and I'm like, no, I need to get 8 hours of sleep. It's 8 hours of sleep because I have a tournament coming up and my body needs to be 100%. So.
Yeah, you're very focused. That's interesting that you don't want to do a tournament that's a little ahead because it will distract you a little bit if you have success and maybe take away some of your drive to compete at the bigger stage of Worlds.
Yeah. And some people, they say like they like to go because they think it's kind of like a warm up, you know. They kind of get themselves ready,
Sure.
you know, so do one tournament before. But when I do that, it doesn't work for me because nobody go to the tournament think about losing, you know. We all go to the tournament thinking about doing a good job at least. So if I'm there, I know they will like try really hard to do a good job. And then if the result is a win, then I might lose my focus for the world. Because, but if I lose, then it will be really good for the world. But then I don't want to lose, you know? So it's like, just don't go. If you don't want to lose and you don't want to lose the focus, just don't go. And besides that, I had the will of want to be a Pan American champion because it was the only title that I didn't have. And then I had my daughter. I was in 2010 that she was born, and then I believe it was 2013 2013. I went to the Pan Ams. Then I won the Pan Ams. Then it's like okay, you know, it's good enough, I guess. I just want to win the world, that's all.
Okay. It looking at this whole thing about how, you know that it'll be a distraction for your big goal that you have. I think that's just a lesson that people could take, that you have so much competition experience, and you know that some people will go compete and they use a tournament a month ahead as a tune-up, or as kind of a see where they're at and see what they need to work on, and that's a good thing for them. Some people will go to a tournament like that and they'll lose the motivation afterwards if they do well. They won't have that fire, that drive anymore, and that's where you're putting yourself. And so just your experience of competing so much, you recognize that as, if I compete before this tournament, I likely won't compete as well at that tournament. And that's a really interesting thing you've discovered about yourself. And I think that you can't discover that until you've competed a whole bunch. And you know, like this, you know, a lot of people who listen and who compete a lot, maybe they could look for that sort of a trend and look to see what they think is helping them as a earlier match. You know, something a month ahead of time might actually be taking away some of their drive and some of their kind of their fire they have while they're training.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it definitely works like that, you know, because I feel like every single time that I did that, they compete one tournament and right away, you know, a couple months later, compete the tournament that I really want to win, then the result wasn't the result that I want. But it's because when you win the first tournament, then you think in your head that you're already doing everything right. You know, everything is right. I already won one tournament, so I will just keep working that way and I will win the next tournament. But we forget about the people watching our match too, you know, so they started working around for every mistake we did over there, you know, that we didn't see it. And then the next tournament becoming more challenging because they just saw you fighting a couple months before. And then because you're not so focused, you know, because you just won a tournament. So that's what I think, you know. I know from some people are different. But what I like to use is that warm up, you know, because I do like to kind of get my body ready too. But I do open class. I just register myself to the open class, and I do the open class first. I kind of get that, you know, the first hits on my body ready, and then when I'm ready for my division, then I already got like you know, kind of like myself on that mood, you know. So, but I don't like to do like one tournament before.
Yeah.
If I need to do that, just putting myself in the open class. That's how I started up doing open class, because I'm a really light division, you know, I'm a featherweight. Actually, it's super featherweight. So it's even lighter. It's 118 pounds with the gear. But that's how I started put on myself to do open class, just because I was like, no, I want to kind of get my body, you know, ready. So I would do open class, and then a couple of times I was able to win the open class. Not always though. I lost more than I win, but then it was good because I came from a loss right away doing my division. There was like, oh my God, I need to win this, you know. Use the anger in your favor, you know.
Miriam, that's really impressive that you've done so well in some of the open classes that you've entered into. How does your strategy change when you're competing with the larger athletes?
Oh, I love wrist locks on open class. That's my number one goal movie, because the wrist, it's right there, you know. And sometimes it's so easy to get it, you know. That's when it actually has a good story behind that. When, back in the day, I injured myself on an open class when I was a purple belt. And then back in the day, like the mat was like a puzzle mat. So I had like a little space, and when the girl on the open class came to do double leg, I sprawl, and then my foot got stuck inside the puzzle mat. And when I tried to lift myself up to pull my foot out of the mat, then she finished the double leg. So it was like whole way over my way with my leg stuck. Anyway, so I broke my ankle. And I got second place on the open class.
Wow.
On that day, because it was the final. But then I had to get surgery, and I had to take a little time out of jiu-jitsu. It took me 6 months to fully recover and come back. Then later on, I started training again, started competing, and then I was able to be a world champion in the purple belt division, and then my professor upgraded my belt to the brown. And that year, when I was a brown belt, I again went to the finals at the open class division, being a purple belt, brown belt, and it was with the same girl that I broke my ankle. Her name is Auntie. She actually now teaches in Abu Dhabi. She was like 3 division or 4 above my division. And it was the final was with her. And then my professor came, and he was so honest. He was like, Miriam, I don't think you can do it. Let's just go home. You know, you're going to break yourself again. And, you know, you still got to finish your division after the open class. So how are you going to do that? Let's just don't do it. And then I look at him, and I was like, he honestly, like, it's from his heart. He don't believe he can win. You know, he's the only person that I thought that he would never doubt. You know, the fact that we work so hard, and then jiu-jitsu in the end of the day, it's not about, you know, power. It's about technique. And he believed that my technique cannot be this girl, you know. And then I was like, please stay. And then he like, no, it's so late already. I'm hungry here, and I need to, I will stay here. You're gonna end up getting hurt, and I'm here for hours. And I was like, yeah, I pay your lunch or dinner, wherever it's just. He was the only eyes that I wanted to be on me on that match, you know. It was like, yeah, I need him to believe it, that I can do it. I can't agree with him and say, yeah, I can't do it, you know. So he stayed. I remember being I isolate myself where nobody was close to me. And I remember I was just rocking myself back and forth. I was like in a deep zone where I was like, yeah, I need to do this, and I can't go home and let my professor, have that inside his heart, and I need to change that, And when they called my name to the final with the girl, and I think she was kind of lousy too, because she probably thought like, yeah, I already won her one time, and and I don't think she was focused as much as I was on that day because of that. And then I went to I gave my everything on that day, and then in the end of the day I won, and it was the day that he gave my black belt because he couldn't believe. He was like, I remember he asking somebody outside, somebody just give me a black belt. Picking up a black belt from somebody else there using. He was like, here. And he put it on my waist, and it was on the state tournament. That was on the state tournament. That's when I got my black belt on the podium. And that was a really relief for me. I love it being able to get promoted, on the podium as a black belt. That was really good, but nothing compared the feeling of you change somebody's mind and what they think about you, I was like, I need to change that. And then that day I was able to make him believe, not in just me, but in all work. It's not me alone, on that day I needed him to believe in his own work, It's like you working too. So it's that was, for me, was, I will always have it there in my memories, So that was, it was good memories, good to remember about that.
Yeah. Mariam, a lot of people are given a black belt, and it's kind of a surprise. They didn't necessarily expect to get it that day. But it sounds like your coach was surprised by you, and he didn't expect to give a black belt that day. And
no.
he just felt like it had to be done, and he surprised himself, I think, and you surprised him, I guess would be the ultimate reason for that. But that's a crazy story.
Yeah, no, definitely he wasn't ready to promote me. He wasn't like, oh, I will promote her. No, not at all, because he didn't even have the belt there. He was begging me to just leave the match and go home, or just finish my division and go home, And just because I think he trained me for so long since I was a little girl, so he has that father spirit in him where he's looking for his little girl, Like he didn't want to see me going through that situation again.
Yeah.
And getting surgery and not being able to train. And so I understand that he's being afraid of that happening again. And I think that what made him get so more scared was because it was against the same girl, the same girl. And I was like, yeah, but in the end of the day, it was an accident, It wasn't like it wasn't stupid mission that she did on me. It was like my foot got stuck inside the mat, So it's like it happened. Things happen. And you can't let something like that control you, and they control your mind where you not believe in yourself no more, or you think that person you're not going to be able to beat because you lost for them once. So it's not that. The real challenge is actually before you get inside the match, you got to fight against your own mind, and you got to tell your own self that you're capable to do it. And even if the most important person besides you that you think that the one that will support you and believe in you, say that on that time that you need that they don't believe you can do it, you gotta understand that you're playing in your own team, you know, and you're the one that should never doubt yourself, you know. So I couldn't agree with him. I just couldn't. I would not doubt myself on that, you know. I will always try. And if you would lose on that day, that's fine too. But I would not go home without trying. It's no way.
Yeah. And from his perspective, I think he's okay with you trying, but in the open class, he was just fearful of somebody who he really cared for a lot and saw grow up and didn't want to see get injured. And so that fear of you getting hurt overtook his idea of the positive that could happen.
Yes, for sure. And I think too, he would like just be happy with your winning your division, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just that alone, it's pretty good. And I totally agree with him. And that's the thing. That's how we can come back from what we start talking, you know? Like, it's not about the medal. Like, when I go over there, I wanted them to play their best game. But it's like personal for me, you know? I want to challenge myself in other things besides just being a winner, just win, you know, a medal. It's not that. That medal, actually, it's not valuable, you know? It's worth nothing. It's what you're doing over there, how you're challenging yourself, you know? It's all very personal, you know? And from me, on that day, you know, it wasn't about winning her. It was about making sure that he will always believe me, you know, that he would like it. So it works. Now, when we actually made a party before I moved to United States, I lived here for 10 years, or almost 10 years now. And so 10 years ago, when I decided that I was going to move here and work, then we made a barbecue party over there. And on that day, he said that he's afraid of telling me that I can jump through the window, that I will fly, because he say, if I say that, you're gonna see her jump out the window. And he say, and the worst part on top of that, you will see her flying, and you're gonna have a heart attack. So for me, that day was like it. You know, I always remember that word. I was like, yeah, that's right. If you tell me that I will jump and fly, I will jump, and you're gonna see me flying.
This is an interesting kind of a transition from us talking about competing early on, and then talking about competing at the upper belts and your interactions with your coach. How has this affected the type of a coach and professor that you are when you're helping your students do their best?
Oh, I was very blessed. You know, like at the place that we train in Brazil, it was like 12 black belts. And because it's a project, you know, it's a lot of people donate their time to go teach us. And some people get paid to teach us too, but some not. But you have all the different ways of doing the same thing. An example, like they would have a schedule, and if in that day they would be working on bars from formal, then you get the chance of learning on bars from formal from numerous different black belts, you know, and they all have their different way of doing it, you know. And I would like it to, I would always pay attention. I always try to do exactly how each one of them would teach me. And now helps me a lot today because I'm small and I'm light, but sometimes my class have guys that's big and strong, and I can remember like how my professor taught me, like my big and strong professor. There would be Barauna, and he was like over 200 pounds. He's very tall, and I remember how he would teach me because I work for his type of body, you know. So then I can help my students doing the same way that he used to do it, you know. And then, so the variation helped me to be able to guide my students today And I always keep my mind open to not having like just one way of doing one thing, you know. I always have you gotta change, and it depends of the, you know, how flexible they are, how big or how small, and they help me along down, have like an open mind of learning different ways of doing the same thing. Because sometimes on the class would happen that the first professor would teach a technique, and then was the second class, and it would be another professor teaching the same technique. Then the student would say, well, or the first professor showed us that technique, but he showed kind of different, you know, and he would say it's always a different way of skin a cat, you know.
Yeah.
It's not that it's wrong or this one it's better. It's that we are different person. We have different body types. So, you know, you gotta learn how to adapt for your body type. And I always remember that, you know, and I try to tell my students when I teach them technique. I teach them the technique, and I always tell them, if you need to adjust the technique for your type of body, do it. You know, don't have it to be exactly how I'm doing, because I am small and you are bigger than me. So what the comfortable way to do for you, you know? So I let that open for them too.
It's an interesting concept, because when I'm learning a jiu-jitsu technique, I really do just learn it for me. I just, like, how is this working for my body? How do I get this to work? How does this fit in with what I already know? And it sounds like pretty early on, you were learning from somebody who was a lot bigger than you, and you were learning it your way, and also observing and taking from the way of somebody who was a lot bigger. And so now that you're coaching and teaching people, you could recall that information. Okay, here's how the bigger person would do this. It's a little differently, but here's how the adjustments are made. And it really, you're learning several different types of jiu-jitsu that method of learning and that idea of training really has probably helped your ability to coach students who are a lot different than you. And also, like, as I think about this, as you compete in the open weight division sometimes, you know how the bigger people like to do their techniques a little differently. So it might help you be more aware of what they're trying to do as well.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. Yeah, it helped a lot. And I try to pass that knowledge for the students, because my goal is to be able to become a student again. For that to happen, I need to make professors, you know. So I need to make sure that they can get as much knowledge that they can. So I try to pass all that to them. I also always try to bring one of my professors once a year. So I already brought Hercules and the Julius Caesar. You probably know him. He's the owner of the GF team.
Yeah.
He was my professor too. He is my professor still. I call him Tio. He's like my family to me. But he was one of the 12 black belts on that project. So I learned from him too, and from many others. So I try to bring them once a year. And I tell the students, oh, look, that's my professor. And then next year, I bring another one and say, that's my professor. And like, you have so many professors. I'm like, yeah, don't you see, I'm so lucky. I just try to, you know, I wanted them to have the experience and too, you know, to learn from them. And then have other one that's, we call him Boquinha. I believe he's in Florida now, but we're planning on bringing him this year. He's easy to come down and visit, you know. First time that I got Master Julio here, right when I opened the gym for him, he sat down on the mat and he was just crying. And then he called one of the other professors in Brazil, And he starts saying, we did it. All our hard work, it's, we did it. Because for them, that's more than anything, Seeing one of the girls that start in a poor project in Brazil, being, working with jiu-jitsu today. And then from me, I was so happy to make them proud, too. And all the time that they put on the mat, giving to us free jiu-jitsu, I never had to pay for jiu-jitsu over there. I trained jiu-jitsu for free for my whole life. And then it always starts because they want us not to get involved with gangs and doing whatever was wrong over there, because everything there was so close to us, I remember like in my house, my parents' house in Brazil, right on front, it had like people that would like sell drugs, and I would like leave the house and walk it, by them to go to school, so we see all this stuff growing up, and the jiu-jitsu was like a getaway, like, over there we forget about all we see over there, all the dead bodies that we had to see on our way to school too, I'd say it's a totally different life over there. And like every time that I wake up and I look outside, I'm just so grateful to be here. I truly love this country and love the opportunity that this country gave me, to be able to just sometimes leaving my car open, and don't worry about that somebody gonna.
What have you learned as far as running an academy and being a head coach? What kind of unique challenges has that brought to you that you didn't necessarily learn as you were becoming a great athlete?
First thing that I learned was don't do this alone. That was my first thing, because it can become very stressful, and if you want to be like a good wife, a good mom for your kids, and plus be a good head coach and run a business, it's like if you're trying to do by yourself, that would put on so much stress on you, So that was my first lesson, was like, don't do it alone, Get somebody that has something that you don't have. And then that's when my partner came along, my partner, he's super smart. And he's so wise on business side, So then I was like, it's the best, because he has totally what I don't have. He can think about like how to grow the business and how to make sure that the gym is comfortable for the customers, and all that side that I don't know so well. And that was great for me to, be able to find him. And then, so that was like, I would say like the first thing. First, I wouldn't do that by myself.
Yeah.
I would definitely not do it by myself, because it can like get you in so much stress, because you always have to do something, And if you not pay attention in all the sides, then you start failing, And then I think jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu didn't tell me that. It was like literally life.
Yeah.
It was like, you gotta have people that support you and believe in what you do,
So who are some of the people that are currently supporting you and helping you have success?
Oh, number one would be Scott. His name is Scott Manchester. I met him teaching his kids at his garage. I used to teach his kids on Saturdays. And one day I went and I told him that I wasn't going to be able to teach no more, because I got the opportunity of opening my own business, with some other guy that we would do 50-50 in a gym. And then he was like, no, open gym with me. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's joking, And then I told my husband, and my husband said, no, he's not joking. He's like hitting on you. No, my husband was like, he's hitting on you. And we're like, no, he's not. I was like, no, he's not, because his wife came and talked to me too. So you're like, so both are hitting on you. I was like, oh my gosh, no, they're not. Anyways, then I started seeing that he was serious about it. He started sending emails and calling, and trying to set up meetings. And I was like, wow, this guy's really serious. Maybe I'm not going to have to leave the Seattle area, because I would have had to move. And then me and my husband talked to Scott and his wife, Rachel. And then they were like, no, we really love the way you teach the kids. And if to make you stay, we need to open a gym so you can stay. So we're going to do it. And then that's basically how the team starts. That's it. Now we have 6 other gyms. We have 2 gyms that we own and 4 affiliations. And then everything starts from teaching his kids at his garage. And then they are now wanting me to leave.
Wow.
And since then, it's been like an amazing journey. We get along so well. And then before we started with a business first, and now they're like my best friends. It's people that I can count on. And then the same thing for them too. They know that they can count on me, and we do everything that we can to help each other. And then to keep it, giving jiu-jitsu to other people. And then we made a great community here.
Mariam, you started jiu-jitsu when you were 15, and now you're teaching jiu-jitsu, and part of, getting your own gym was teaching kids, and they really liked the way that you were doing that, and you have that great interaction with them. You do have 2 children of your own. Do they train?
Yes, they do. They train jiu-jitsu too. And they help at the gym too, They always help with the customers too. They are like I always tell them, because I gotta make sure that they are like well-behaving. They do everything really good, because they're the one that do the advertisement, Yeah. Because if I can't train my own kids, and if I can make sure that they are like a good listeners, and they know discipline, then how can I teach somebody else's kids? So then I always tell them, you guys that do the advertisements, so you guys make sure that you guys are being polite, and then when you're on the mat, that you're practicing the technique right, that you're not playing around, And then I know then that they're kids too, so sometimes they just want to have fun, and I relax too. I try to relax a little bit and not be too much on them, because they're...
Sometimes adults are the same way. Just want to have fun and get a little ornery. Looking at the makeup of your students, of your customers, how many of them are kids? How many are adults? Do you have a big women's team? Tell me a little bit about the makeup of the class.
We still have more guys than girls. I would say like every class will never like that's the minimum number would be never less than 20 people inside the mat, But it don't have as many girls still, It still have more guys than girls. And I'm okay with that too. When I started training jiu-jitsu, I was the only girl, and I love training with the guys too. And I'm glad that my girls like to train with the guys too, I don't really want to separate them, and that's why I don't do like a girls only class. I want to be for everyone, and if somebody doesn't feel comfortable in training with girls or with guys, then they just let me know, and I will do my best to guide them to train with the girls or with the guys. But yeah, all the class, it's pretty full. It's funny that my partner at the beginning, he asked me if I would like to teach just kids, make it like a gym that would be just for kids and teenagers and not adults. And I told him no, I want to be able to teach everybody, That's was the whole point of learning jiu-jitsu, was to be able to train for anybody that want to learn, if it's a guy, a girl, if it's somebody that has some physical condition that they need to work, anybody. I had like a girl that she was blind. I mean, she's blind. And her mom came to bring her to the class, and they were like, I don't know, if you don't want to teach her, it's okay. And I was like, no, I would love to teach her. I'm so glad that you guys got her here, and giving me the opportunity of teaching her, So, and she got so good from all the kids. Oh, she's 11 years old, and from all the kids, she was the only blind girl on the class, and she was the one that tried the hardest to do the technique. Her armbar, it's like amazing, and she can't even see it, but she tries so hard. And for me, I was learning from her personally. I was like, oh my gosh, she tries. More than any other kids that's here. And so it was a really good experience for me,
Yeah.
I was glad that I always had that open mind of teaching everybody without like picking, without being a pick. I can only teach this kind of public or that kind, I was, whoever get inside this door and they say that they want to learn it, I'm here to teach.
That's great. Miriam, looking back, you see your coach as you're a brown belt, like hesitating and being nervous about you competing in the open weight division. Fearful that you might get hurt, and then just the surprise and excitement he felt when you won. And then looking at you now as a coach, and you have a child that has surprised you with her ability to do a beautiful armbar and not be able to see. It's probably a similar feeling, obviously not the same, but like the proud feeling you have of her accomplishing something that's very difficult through hard work and dedication.
Oh yeah, it's for sure. Yeah, it's so good. And then I can understand my professors better now today. Like I can understand. Like back in the day when I would look and say, oh my gosh, they're so happy. Why they're so happy? Now I get to feel that. What happened was last year, one of my students, he is a white belt, and then he went to a tournament without telling me. He just registered himself, and then he won the tournament, and he came back with a gold medal, all happy. I was so sad. And I told him, I was like, don't do that ever again. And he like, boy, I won. I was like, but you took my pleasure to watch you, all my hard work. I was training you, and I didn't even know you would go to a tournament. And he was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, okay. But was like, good that happened, because I was able to get the whole class and tell everybody how important, it's like, don't go to the tournament without telling your professor or your coach, because it's not just your hard work, it's our hard work too. and it's we feel like so much pleasure in seeing you guys there competing. And when you don't tell us, you're basically taking that from us, you know, and it's not fair, you know. We want to be there. We want to feel all the emotion going on. You get nervous, we get nervous too. We're on the other side. It's nothing that we can do but yell, you know. So, and then I think now they understand that. And he told me, I'm so sorry. I just didn't know if you would like to go, because he was like the only one that went. I was like, you know, you guys, even though you're older than me, because he's adult and he's older than me, I was like, but even if you're older than me, you're still my kid, you know? So I do want to be there. I do want to watch you. I want to get all the feelings. I want to make sure that I'm there to give you advice, to yell you when you feel like you can't do it or anything. I want to be able to help, you know? And so then I understand, like, now my professors, you know, I can, like, that's how they feel, you know.
Mariam, I've had a blast getting to know you. I really like the way you coach, and you've done amazing things on the mat, and we're looking forward to seeing you compete. Before I let you go, I want to invite you to play a round of Family Feud with us, and I know people listening will kind of think of the answers as you go along at home. Are you ready to try this out?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. This should be fun. Okay, here's the first question. Name something that never works when you need it most.
Fixing your grips. Never fix your grips in a choke. Just go wherever it is. It never works when you try to fix it. They escape.
Okay. Name something that people do in their sleep.
Oh my gosh. Scratch their butt.
So I should tell you that these aren't like jiu-jitsu questions.
Oh, that's not jiu-jitsu question?
Yeah. I liked your answer of fixing the grips, but...
okay, go back.
Okay.
Okay, gotta be
sorry.
All jiu-jitsu questions.
What was that?
All jiu-jitsu answers.
No, they're not jiu-jitsu answers. They're just like normal, everyday, anybody could answer.
Okay.
So
let's try again.
Yeah. Name something that never works when you need it the most.
Never works when you need the most. The phone.
The phone?
The phone.
Okay, that's a good answer. Name something that people do in their sleep.
Snore.
Snore, that's the best answer you can get. Name something that people hide.
Money.
Good one. Now you're a pro. Name something that people often do before they go on a job interview.
Fix it up themselves.
Like dress up clothes-wise?
Yeah,
or okay.
Up. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Name something that people put on during the course of a day.
Shoes.
All right, Mariam, I've got your scores here. Your first answer, name something that never works and you need the most. Phone, 9 points. And then after that was your least strong answer. After that, you hit like all the answers perfectly. Name something people do when they sleep. Snore was the best answer you could give at 61 points. Something people hide is money for 70 points. Something people do before an interview is get fixed up, like dress up, 29 points. And then name something people put on during the course of a day. Clothes and shoes is in the same category, 50 points. Mariam, you have the new record.
Yay! The winner?
Yeah, 219 points is the new record that we have on the show. And have you ever watched this show before, the Family Feud?
No, I will have to watch it now.
You're a natural now. You got to go check it out. It's pretty funny. But you did great. Thanks for being on the show with me. I had a good time getting to know you. Had fun on the. I'm impressed with your Family Feud ability. You have another hidden talent.
I wish I had to practice. If anybody beats me, you call me back so I can try again.
Back in the open division of Family Feud.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for doing the interview with me, Mariam.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was so much fun.
I want to thank Mariam one more time for jumping on the podcast, talking with us. Great to meet her over the podcast here and learn about what she's done. She had a lot of great stories. That's always fun to hear. You know what? It was great discussion about jiu-jitsu. I was floored with how good she did with the Family Feud. You guys haven't heard it yet. Her score. So on the Family Feud, 100 is a good score because you're giving your partner a fair chance at getting the next 100 points. Anything above 100 is you're giving them a better shot than most. Mariam scored 219, basically winning the whole thing by herself.
By herself.
Yeah.
I think we got something going. I mean, we talked about Health IQ earlier, where they have done research and show that people who are healthy, train sports, like say jiu-jitsu, live longer and should get, better rates. Like in Family Feud, you watch it on TV, rarely do the both people get to 100. Here Miriam's getting over 200 by herself. Tim Sled last week got 62 points on just one question. And it's like, so I know we only have a short, study so far, but I'm sitting there thinking jiu-jitsu people are not only healthier, we're more intelligent. Just the way this is going. So I think that's another thing we could talk about as benefits of jiu-jitsu is our intelligence.
It's possible, but didn't you and I play Family Feud as well? I'm not sure you scored that high.
Well, we're not third-degree black belts like Miriam. So maybe when, we're going to increase our intelligence as we get there.
I see. I'll buy that.
Or maybe just smart people are attracted to jiu-jitsu. We don't know. But we do know that training jiu-jitsu leads to a healthier lifestyle, and Health IQ knows that as well. People who are fit and healthy, like us jiu-jitsu practitioners, they have like a 56% less risk of heart disease, 20% less risk of cancer, 58% lower risk of diabetes. And if you are in a normal life insurance program, you're really being rewarded for that. This is almost like, think of it as you're a good driver, you pay a lower rate for your car insurance. You're good to your body, you're training jiu-jitsu, you're healthy, you deserve a lower rate for your life insurance. It's that simple. Check out the link in the show notes. We're happy to have them as a sponsor for the show, and I think this will be a great opportunity for people to save money with a product you need anyway. If you don't have life insurance, you're really putting the ones you love most in a kind of a tough spot should they need it. It's not something you really get for yourself. It's something you get to protect your family. And look into that. And yeah, everybody needs to have life insurance. And Health IQ would be great because you train jiu-jitsu and you're keeping yourself in good shape.
Yep, and you won't know if you qualify unless you go to healthiq.com and check it out. So take a few minutes and do that, guys.
Yeah, definitely check out their Health IQ quiz. That's one of the ways to qualify for their exclusive rates. But you know what I think is awesome, too, is you can get additional savings by submitting actual data, like race results, Runkeeper, or any app data to them, that they ask for. So, they actually walk the walk. They say that, hey, we want people in good shape, and, they'll qualify for, exclusive rates. And instead of just saying that, they will give it to you if you do well on the Health IQ quiz and submit some results. So definitely, like Joe said, check out the Health IQ link there, and we have a link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, thanks for our sponsorship there. We couldn't have got this far without you guys listening and telling your friends about us, and we're really enjoying the success we've had with the podcast. We got some cool things coming down the road. Trying to plan a event. We're not sure of the date and the people that will be involved, but keep your ears open, and hopefully within a week or two we'll bring you some news about a big BJJ Brick event, the first one we've ever done, and I think it'll be a blast.
Byron, don't say when you talk about a brick event that it's going to be a blast. That gets people a little scared that they're going to get bricks thrown at them.
Oh, it'll be a smashing success. How about that? Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, because then it sounds like you get smashed with bricks.
Gary will be in charge of the advertisement.
It'll be a good time.
Good times, good times.
Well, guys, all roads lead through Wichita. So if you're in the Wichita area, look up Gary and Byron. They'd be glad to train with you. If you're in the Houston area, I train south there about 45 minutes. So you can contact me through the BJJ Brick Facebook page or through the email, and I'd be glad to come train with you or point you to a good school to train with in the area. So hit us up, guys.
Yep, we love training with you guys anytime we can. The article this week, we are on joshjujitsu.info. That's where we've landed this week. And he's got a lot of stuff on there, and I just kind of stumbled on one of his short clips he wrote here. And I think it's interesting. We'll have a discussion about it. But basically, Josh, the title of this, If They Can't Stop You, Is It Not Wrong? And he's referring to the technique that somebody is doing that, it's wrong. Gary is trying to pass my guard, and he's trying to choke me, with his hands. And yeah, Gary technically probably shouldn't be doing that, but you know what? I can't sweep him. I can't armbar that guy from that position. I'm having a hard time. Is it wrong? And you know what? Maybe he'll even pass my guard from time to time. Is it wrong, or is it okay? Is it right? How do you guys feel about this? Somebody doing something that is technically wrong. Another easy example, maybe even a little bit more likely to be seen, is you're trying to pass the guard and you're getting frustrated, and I can't even open this guy's guard. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw in one of my arms out of the closed guard. He's going to go for a triangle, and I'm just going to escape triangle and pass guard. Boom. Pretty simple, pretty easy pass for some people against other people. Is that right, or is that wrong, guys?
I like that example. And I guess a question I would pose to somebody who is wrestling with this, if I want to throw my arm through there and do that pass, I need to practice it a little bit. Might have to do some reps and do some drilling. But it's really only a technique that's going to work against people with a bad guard, a bad triangle. It's going to work against beginners. And so I'd have to ask the question, why do you want to spend a lot of time developing a technique that only works against beginners?
Yeah, I agree with you right there, Joe. I look at jiu-jitsu as a very long journey. We can have short-term success, like you said, against somebody who may not have a very good triangle by doing that, and end up passing and getting to ourselves into an offensive position and hopefully finish from there. But is that really going to help us farther down the journey? I mean, we may be good in the first quarter, but as we, keep going down the journey, I try to do that against Ryan Hall. I think I'm going to be asleep here very quickly. And, that was one of the things when I first started training, Byron, you've always talked about that. That's one thing you've always put in my head. I've always kind of looked up to Byron, and he's taught me a lot while we've trained and gave me a bunch of words of advice. And, one of the things Byron would always tell me is, is that working? You want something that's going to work on everybody. You don't want just to work on people that are less talented than you, because it's not going to help you in the long run. And, you'd always tell me, Byron, when I'm working on a new move and something I get, started off against people less talented than me, get it working on them, just to work out the bugs, and then you just keep working up the ladder. And then when you can do it on somebody that's better than you, you would always tell me, hey, you've got it down. You're finally got it. And I definitely want stuff that's going to work for me from the brand new person to somebody much better than me. I don't want something that's just going to give me short-term success.
So looking back at the article here, I'm going to read a little bit of it because I want to try to portray it as it is written and not just summarize it. He's asking, is it really wrong for them to be choking you inside your guard if you can't stop them from doing that? The answer is no.
I just want to say something, too, on that. We talked a little bit ago about, self-defense with the spaz part. A lot of jiu-jitsu is self-defense. A lot of people really, really like that self-defense spot. And that's something you're you'll probably get with the untrained person out on the street. So I do see some benefit there, depending on, if you want to be a world champion or not.
Yeah, there could be benefit from training this. I'm going to read a little bit more here. The answer is no. Talking about the getting choked from with your own guard. It is 100% correct for them to do it if you can't prevent it. There are no wrong techniques in jiu-jitsu, only things that work and things that don't. If it works, then it is not wrong. When it stops working, then it's wrong. And I guess it's hard to totally disagree with this, but think about it from the perspective of what are you investing your time and energy towards getting better at? A technique that will ultimately not work against people who are good at jiu-jitsu, or do you want to work on things that are actually going to work? Yeah, you could do the same techniques as a white belt. Do the same techniques as a black belt. You're going to be phenomenal at them. But you're not going to pass the guard by putting your hand on somebody's neck and crushing their throat, or trying to. You're going to get armbarred or swept or triangled or whatever. You're not going to pass the guard by offering them a free triangle attempt at black belt. So to push back on this article a little bit, I would really urge you to think about if they're telling you it's wrong, if they say, hey, don't do that, it's not really smart. Sorry, I can't tap you out with this or do my thing that I should do. But technically, further down the road, everyone's going to capitalize on this on you, and you're spending your time and energy working on developing a technique that is fundamentally flawed. I mean, he says no techniques are wrong. There's a lot of flaw in techniques, and I would say your guard passing technique has some flaws in it if it makes you put yourself in positions that are not good to be in.
This is a little bit off topic, but I think he's actually making a statement to two different groups of people here. And one is he's telling the new white belts it's okay to do these techniques, and I'm with you. I don't know that I 100% agree with that. But I think he's also talking to the blue belts that are continually correcting the new people. And if you got to tell me that I shouldn't be trying to choke you from inside the guard instead of arm barring me and sweeping me, then maybe you need to work on your techniques. And I think that's kind of what he's saying. If somebody's giving you a hard time with sloppy technique, figure out a way to deal with it instead of correcting them and tell them what they're doing wrong. And they'll learn from that probably better than they'll learn from you continuously verbally correcting them.
You were right, Joe. Now that I read that very last paragraph, I was looking at it the wrong way. I do see what you're saying. And I'm going to learn a lot better, instead of being in somebody's guard all the time and reaching out and choking them with both my hands and somebody telling me that's not right to do. But I'm like, hey, he's not doing anything to stop it. But if I reach out there with my hands to choke him and he shifts his hips and I get armbarred every single time and he takes his pick, whatever arm he wants to armbar me, he'll do one left, one right, and just keep going back and forth. I'm going to learn quicker that way.
That's a good perspective, gentlemen. Really talking to two different groups of people. The people that are doing the techniques that are questionably wrong, which some of them flat out are wrong, in my opinion, and doing the people that are trying to convince them that something is wrong, and they can't back it up with their actual technique. And thinking about myself in this, I often find myself in a situation. I teach a particular guard pass, and while I'm showing somebody this guard pass, it's one I love, and it's got a few different things in it that I don't even know how to describe this guard pass anyway, but it's not hard to teach, and it's not hard for somebody who's even a white belt with a few months to understand this pass. But at one point I'll say, tuck your elbow in or you might get Kimura'd. And then I usually will say, I can't Kimura you from here. My Kimuras aren't very good. And legitimately, I probably don't. Most blue belts have a Kimura that is probably better than mine. Like, my Kimuras aren't very good. I don't know. I haven't put the time and energy into doing a Kimura. Gary could probably testify to my Kimura. I've never Kimura Gary. Not that that would be show how good it was, because I'm not even close to Kimura. I can't Kimura hardly anyway. But I'll tell him flat out: if your elbow is out, you will get Kimura sometimes. Keep your elbow tucked in, and you'll be safe. And then inevitably, when I show somebody this guard pass, I'll end up pulling guard. It's a butterfly guard pass. I'll end up playing butterfly guard, and they're going to try this thing. If their elbow is sticking out, I just tap their elbow. Hey, watch those Kimuras. And even though I can't do it, maybe I could, but I generally have a hard time backing up that thing. It is a flaw, and I've had to fight out a lot of Kimuras when I make this mistake. And maybe the fact that I could do a lot of other things on the mat, and they know that I can, helps back that up. But I don't see a fault in saying to somebody, hey, a lot of these guys in here, a lot of these girls in here are going to be all over this Kimura if you do this. I'm having trouble with it, but still, heads up, man. You're going to give yourself a little bit harder of a time passing if your elbow's sticking out. That's kind of how I phrase it.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I'm older. I'm not athletic, and I've done the same thing before. And I don't never try and take away a win from somebody, but I've been put in a bad position and had a tap, and I tell the guy that worked, but it's not always going to work against these younger guys that are quicker and more athletic, and maybe there's a few mistakes you could avoid going forward.
I think it's how you word it. If you literally try your best to triangle somebody as they try to pass your guard with the triangle and you can't do it, you kind of seem like you're complaining to them as far as, hey, that's not really good guard pass. And they're all like, just got to finish choking you. It kind of was a good guard pass. But if you just phrase it, hey, my triangle isn't that good. I definitely don't have the best triangle nowhere near it. But a lot of these people in here, if you try that, they're going to end up triangling you like easily. And just a heads up, our instructor showed this guard pass last week. Why don't you try that one? And it's a lot less risky. You're just kind of, I think it's like it's so much of this. It's how you communicate it. And if you just communicate it with saying, that's not good, and you try to triangle and you don't, you're not really helping them understand why it's not good. And maybe it's not your role to help them with that position. But I don't know. I think it's an interesting idea. And I do think that there are, you could do a technique totally wrong and still have a good result. But that doesn't mean it's what you should be doing. That's not helpful. You could shoot, a free throw with terrible form and make it, but that doesn't mean your form can't be improved upon, and you could become more consistent at shooting those free throws.
That's a really good point. It's not whether you can make it once in a blue moon, but having some consistency and being able to repeat get the results repeatedly.
And I know Gary can always appreciate the basketball analogy.
Yes, thank you for thinking about me, Byron.
I'm also thinking about our Patreon supporters. Wow, they are the Brick Foundation. I don't know if bricks make a good foundation, but the bedrock foundation under this brick wall here, that's really helping us go and maintain what we're doing. And as we continue to ramp things up, if you like the show, want to support us, the easiest and most simple way to do that is to go to our Patreon link and sign up to be a supporter. And what you'll do is you'll pledge what you want. $1 is, I think, the most common thing. Pledge $1. I'll send you out a BJJ Brick gi patch. It's a 5-inch patch. It's going to look great on your gi. You're going to look so cool. You'll look almost as cool as Gary and Joe after they got their massage. It will also send you out a BJJ Brick sticker. Invite you to our private Facebook group where you'll find us hanging out with our other listeners and Patreon supporters and a couple of local friends here. And oftentimes we'll bat an idea around, or we'll talk about a guest that's coming up and what we should talk to them about. So all that's available. Please, if you at all enjoy this show and you want to support us, Patreon is a great way to do that. And we appreciate all the Patreon supporters. So thank you guys for doing that.
Yeah, and a lot of times Byron will even send you out a special gift of a 9x12 color photo of Byron's smiling face. I have talked to a lot of our Patreon supporters, and that makes a great dartboard. So definitely, Byron will send you a free dartboard.
Yep. If you hit me right in the nose, well, big deal. Everybody can do that.
That's a pretty big target.
And you can see that big target on our social media if you haven't been by there yet. Easiest one is probably the most active one, thanks to our friend Joe here, is Facebook. Find us on Facebook. We have a lot of stuff going on there. We'll put clips of the show on there. Joe's always putting interesting ideas and kind of off-the-mat lessons he's picked up and lots of different stuff on there. It's fun interacting with you guys. Also have a YouTube channel. It's growing. It's well over 1,000 followers, and this time last year we had a couple hundred, and decided to make YouTube a bigger thing for us, and I've been trying to put out videos pretty regularly there. And our app, the BJJ Brick app, go to your app store, wherever that is, type in the BJJ Brick podcast or BJJ Brick, I forget what you got to type in. I should know that. And the app will have all sorts of stuff from the show and a little bit of additional content. Maybe we'll be kind of giving each other a hard time before or after the show, and I might put that on there just for the app listeners.
What do you mean giving each other a hard time? Normally it's focused on me.
Well, us giving Gary a hard time. That's the one more way to say
right.
it. That's what we mean.
Yeah, that's about right.
I've had a good time today. Go ahead.
Yeah, we did. We always say that the best way to help the show grow is to tell a friend. And Byron, you've been doing a great job with those clips from the show. And if anybody wants to tell a friend, man, all you got to do is click the share button and share it to your own Facebook page, or share it with somebody you think might appreciate it.
You know, one of the best things is I shared Tim Sled's little clip of Family Feud. And the crazy thing is a work buddy of mine who has never trained jiu-jitsu, knows nothing about jiu-jitsu, saw me share that, listened to it, and actually brought up that, a couple of his answers, and at work. And I just thought that was kind of cool that just by sharing it, all of a sudden some guy who's probably never even been to the BJJ Brick page brought it up, and we had a conversation about it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
And you'll have them on the mats in a month.
Yes, kind of a little afraid of this guy.
Well, wait till Joe gets here, then we'll get him on the mats with Joe.
Yeah, yep, perfect.
Just call me the victim.
Kind of alluding to...
Hey,
yeah, go ahead.
Don't worry, Joe. I'm the victim every week, so sometimes somebody's got to take one for the team.
Gary, you got to learn to quit playing the victim and start going on offense. And that's really what the
well, you've been telling me forever, Byron, that my best offense is defense.
Well, because your defense is so bad. Just kidding. No, Gary, your offense is phenomenal. So here's the deal. At the end of the show, sometimes I like to throw out a fake audiobook that these guys have been working at and see where they go with this thing. Your audiobook this week, gentlemen, is called The Best Offense is a Good Defense. How I Can Defensively Win at Jiu-Jitsu. And I don't know really what you guys are doing to pull off defensive wins, and if you're just getting kind of booed off the stage or you're just boring your opponent. I don't know what's going on here, but evidently you guys have packed in a ton of content in this short 3-day audiobook that really shows them how good you guys are defensively and how you could win with a strong defense.
Well, it's basically a street fighting book. And you've seen that commercial on TV where the guys are going to the football team and the one guy takes a big plywood in the shape of a D and the other guy pulls out a piece of his yard fence and he goes, and so their defense.
Yeah.
Well, Gary and I just carry those around with us, and if anybody gets out of hand, we just, start beating them with the D in the fence, and I mean it's a pretty effective weapon.
Yeah, the good thing about the D is you can actually put it over somebody's head, take back control and pull on it. It's a rear naked choke without actually having to worry about getting bit, because your forearm is never anywhere near the guy's mouth. The only thing they're going to bite is the wooden D. So, I mean, it works. I didn't realize it was going to go down that fast.
Gary's always putting his wooden D on people's heads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, but the crazy thing is, and we'll just pretend that didn't happen, is that the audiobook is shaped like a piece of fence. That's kind of a neat thing. I didn't know how you shape an audiobook, but it's...
Well, you also get a D there, too.
And the shape, yeah.
Yeah. You get a wooden D and a wooden fence.
What you do with them is your business.
But, we don't just... We've got a couple chapters at the back. We're not just talking about street fights. We got a couple chapters at the back, for jiu-jitsu. And, the best defense is offense. So basically, a lot of times, if you can make the match go long enough, you can tire people out and they'll just quit, because they can't tap you out. And that's one of our big goals. Like, we've got one thing where, you think about people working out, trying to get bigger and stronger. A lot of people do shrugs to build stronger traps. What we try to do is we try to, decrease the size of our neck. So one thing we do a lot is we stand on our head with weights on our foot. What we're trying to do is we're trying to push our head directly on top of our shoulders so we don't have a neck. And hence,
if you got no neck, they can't choke you.
Yep, that's one of the big things we're doing there. When you got another thing is you have to go to certain countries for this because a lot of doctors in the U.S. won't do it. but you can get your arm sewed to your body so you don't have an arm. And that way, if you don't have an arm, Joe, what happens?
Yeah, you can't get arm barred. I tell you, if you're not willing to make that commitment, just get yourself a really good jean jacket and just sew from the inside of the sleeves clear down to the wrist, so it's like your hands are in your pockets and your arms are glued to your sides.
Yeah, works great. And
not getting arm barred.
Yeah, you're not going to get arm barred. So I mean, it works great. We've done a lot of stuff, to make sure that you're not going to get arm barred or choked
or arm barred. Having that no neck is the opposite of having more money. More money, more problems. No neck, no problems at all. Right, guys? Joe, I think you stumbled upon possibly the best gi design ever. Literally sewing the sleeves to the core of the gi would prevent a lot of submission attempts on you. And I don't know if it's going to be legal or not, but we're going to look into investing a lot of money into a gi that basically you can't move your arms. Yeah, but you're not going to get Kimura or armbarred.
Hey, Byron, I do want to correct something you said. You said no neck, no problems. And that's what Joe and I thought, when we did it. But there are problems. Try wearing a turtleneck with no neck.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that was one of the problems we've come up to. But we do include that in there just in case, I know turtlenecks are really popular today.
And my necklace keeps ending up in my mouth all the time.
Yeah, yep. So there are a couple of things that could happen.
Yeah, there's some sacrifices you'll have to make, but trust me, guys, in the end, it will be worth it.
Yeah, you don't have to train nearly as hard either, guys.
Yeah, you just have to just ball up and, actually you can't ball up because it's like we're in a big full body straitjacket. But, we win a lot of matches that way.
Yep, it's all about the D.
The wooden D.
The big D.
Oh, man. Well, that book took an interesting turn. We never know where those are going to go. And I think Gary did that on accident, but it was brilliant.
There it is again. I've now been called brilliant, intelligent a couple times this show. I think you guys are starting to warm up to me.
The pre-show... Go ahead, Joe.
I said most of them were you calling yourself brilliant, so got to discount that a little bit.
He's playing mind tricks on us, Joe. Well, next week we'll be playing mind tricks on everybody when it's just a show with just us, BJJ Brick Crew. The plan is to talk about pressure, how you could increase your pressure, how you could deal with pressure when it's being put on you, a lot of different tips and ideas about pressure, our favorite positions to put the pressure on. And I made a little note here, gentlemen. Think about stories about you dealing with pressure and how it felt, how it made you feel, and what you learned from it. And I've got a good story about myself learning about pressure, and I was really shocked with how much pressure can be applied by one person. And we'll share that next week. Pressure, my friends, next week.
That's what you mean when you said share stories when dealing with pressure. Because I thought, sometimes I'm getting crushed in bottom side control. I'm just like, did I tell you about my vacation last week?
Okay. That's a legitimate tactic, is to use some nice idle conversation, distract them a little bit, and then escape the pressure. Well, we might bring that up.
Yep. Or what you could do is just deep breathe to control that pressure, which is controlled by the vagus nerve.
There you go. We learned a lot this week, gentlemen.
We have.
Stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower.
Train hard, train smart, get better. We'll see you on the mats, guys.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
A rear naked choke without actually having to worry about getting bit, because your forearm is never anywhere near the guy's mouth. The only thing they're going to bite is the wooden D. So, I mean, it works. I didn't realize it was going to go down that.
Thanks so much for checking out this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Check us out next week. And don't forget to check out the archives at bjbrick.com or on this YouTube channel.